Hi, Schlockmeister fans. A movie I haven't seen in a long time. I actually saw it in the theater. It's called Hangar 18. Let's check it out. Gary Collins, Lou Price, astronauts.
Something going like a bat out of hell.
That's Lou Price. He plays James Hampton.
What is it, an idiot? Not unless the meteor can make a U-turn.
Colonel Gates will maintain EVA position.
And they're up in space and they spot something.
There it is.
Anyway, they released this satellite. That's what they're up there to do, and apparently it's going to collide with the spaceship. That's not good. One of their colleagues was out in space, and look, his head is off.
He's dead.
What happened? How?
I guess some debris from that satellite must have hit it.
Anyway, back on Earth, this is Stuart Pankin. And that spaceship has landed. And the Air Force government boys have seen it too.
What the hell is that?
Give me a pass through to General Morrison. This is General Morrison. What have you got? I don't know, General. It's the weirdest damn thing.
Anyway, Steve and Lou return. What they don't know is that the entire thing is going to be hush-hush because of a presidential election.
What happened up there? Blind box right. Look, Bill, we want to talk to Colonel Gates' family. No, you haven't got time. Air Force will take care of it.
Stuart Pankin shows the sheriff where this thing landed.
Well, Sam?
It was here. It was right here.
Sure, Sam.
Government got to it first.
It was.
Ordered Air Force personnel in last night. Good. All right, it'll take a lot to set up. You'll need a briefing procedure. Besides, the Department of Defense will want CIA to get full reports. Of course. Okay, I can make those contacts, get things set up at this end. Very, very carefully.
Duncan Tyler is the best president this country has had in a long, long time. I don't want to blow this election because of rumor or panic. We've got to keep this thing under wraps for 2 weeks.
The best thing we can do is to take the initiative. Be prepared to discredit their reports.
Oh, come on, Frank. Is that necessary?
It would only be for 2 weeks. Then we could clear things up, take them off the hook.
What the hell is this? How can they blame us?
I tried to find out where the story came from, but there's no byline. The newspaper wouldn't tell me a thing.
Meanwhile, they've taken the ship and put it into Hangar 18, a base.
I do.
That's Darren McGavin. It's time to explore the ship.
But I sure wouldn't want them running into this Tate guy. His story would confirm what they saw.
Well, what is he? What does he do?
Construction worker, mostly unemployed.
Steve and Lou are on their way to the crash site because they want to investigate on their own. Also on board the ship appears to be a woman. That was the wrong thing to try. So they've made it.
Because you buy your own gas.
I ain't no millionaire.
By any chance, have you heard anything about a crash that happened in this area a couple of days ago?
Works somewhere and comes back.
They can't find him.
Has to go out and find a job again.
So you think you might have a chance?
Well, he ain't around, so guess so.
Steve and Lou do find the crash site. And some rocks that were fused together by incredible
Lou,
heat.
look at this.
So some government bad guys are there demanding the rock back.
Let's get out of here.
Who he was, what he did, where he came from, what his life was like.
Force is concealing a flying saucer. You've got to have substantial proof, or you're just another nut.
But we saw it. What do you think? Do you think we're a couple of nuts?
No,
A lunar receiving station.
Hangar 18. Let's go find that thing.
They figured it out where it probably is.
So has mankind. The human race are their children.
Steve and Lou are now getting chased, and somebody wrecked the brakes on their car. So they hijacked a petroleum truck.
Takes a bullet. Not gonna have the gas shortage. All right, pal.
Lou crawls out, spills some gas. He took a bullet in the process, though.
Hold on. Come on, hold on.
I want to see Steve Baker. I want to know whether Lou's death had anything to do with what they saw up there in space, about what we've got here in Hangar 18.
So Steve does make it to Hangar 18. And in he goes. Meanwhile, at CIA headquarters in Los Alamos, they're loading up this drone plane with some bombs and weapons. They've got other plans, does the government. Meanwhile, back in Hangar 18, they found videos. Can't understand them, but sounds like Cylon's talking. They've been alerted to Steve's presence there, and Darren McGavin goes to get him.
Harry, what are you doing here?
The base security call.
Base security.
Yeah, they said I'd find you here.
There she is.
Remember that government plane with the weapons? They want to get rid of that spaceship. But the spaceship survived, and so did everybody who was on board it at the time.
NASA Deputy Director Harry Forbes and a small crew of technicians miraculously survived the blast. Initial accounts indicate they were shielded from the explosion. Inside what NASA claims to be an alien spacecraft.
Alright, let's talk about Hangar 18. Believe it or not, I actually saw this movie in the theater, apparently, back in 1980. I think there was still a wave of sci-fi films because of Star Wars, the Star Wars After Effect, and my dad wanted to see this, so we saw it, and I always liked it. Now, it is cheesy, and it's not the greatest reviewed film overall, but I kind of enjoyed it, and I haven't seen it in a long, long time, although back in the day, I saw it fairly often. It showed up on cable quite a bit. I don't think I've seen it actually since about 1997 or so. So it's been a long time, and I remembered quite a bit about it, but didn't remember the end, but now I do, right? So anyway, we have some astronauts up in space who see a spaceship, and then there's a crash. Actually, it's a landing. The spaceship lands on Earth. Now, there's a presidential election coming up in the U.S. This thing landed in the U.S. desert in Arizona, or Texas it was. And the government decides to keep it hush-hush because they don't want to affect the election in any way. So our two astronauts come back, and they want to talk about it and figure out what's going on, but they get blamed for the death of the other guy astronaut who died up in space. And so they're irritated, and they want to find this crash site. Nobody will tell them anything. They don't realize it's supposed to be hush-hush. Nobody let them in on it or anything like that. So they investigate on their own. They figure it out. they decide to go to Hangar 18 themselves, which they believe is where the spaceship would be held. Along the way, they get chased. They run into some other government bad guys. One of the guys gets killed. Eventually, Gary Collins, our lead guy, gets to Hangar 18, and he's shown the spaceship. And then ultimately, the government decides they're going to blow up the spaceship. They can't have any of this stuff leaking out, so they send this drone plane with bombs and stuff to go crash into it, into Hangar 18. However, there's a lot of people on board the ship at the time, and the ship has got, shields and stuff much stronger than we have here on Earth, and it survived. Anybody who was on that ship survived as well, so I'm sure there's a lot of other people killed in the facility there, but anybody on that ship, including our stars, did survive. And then, of course, the movie ends with them, this press release saying that there is a spaceship here, blah, blah, blah. So there you go. Anyway, again, I like this film. I do recognize its cheesiness, but I kind of enjoy it. Darren McGavin's in it, as well as Joseph Campanella. Now, the director of this movie, whose name I forget, he actually directed, James Conway, he directed Earthbound, which is a very rare film that I have, and has a lot of the same stars. Stuart Pankin's in that, Joseph Campanella, and I think there was a couple others who are in that. So we had a lot of crossover stuff. That came out a year later, 1981, so he was still stuck on the sci-fi stuff back then. So anyway, Hangar 18 is available on DVD and Blu-ray now. I'll leave a link to the Blu-ray down below if you're interested in buying it, and I think you should because it's kind of a cool movie. So anyway, check it out. Leave some comments down below. Let me know what you think about it. Hangar 18, watch it. Bye.